Hello everybody and welcome back to Cask and Points. Today we're going to be reviewing some Nashville Barrel Company. So if you don't know that much about Nashville Barrel Company, it is a non-distilling producer similar to River Roots, similar to Rare Character, where they source whiskeys, they store these barrels in their warehouse, and then they resell these barrels, and that margin is how they stay in business. And so they've sourced some of the best whiskeys out there, and I haven't done too much on Nashville Barrel Company. I have done a video before, and I've done quite a few shorts on their stuff, but I really wanted to sit down today and really get into a bunch of different offerings from them because they actually have a really cool range. So River Roots, for example, they primarily have 12-year, 13-year MGP Ryes. They have some Barton, some Heaven Hill, but really they don't have too much range in what they have, at least not yet, but they're getting there. And what they do have is really, really good. Nashville Barrel Company, on the other hand, has a huge range of stuff. They have a bunch of different MGPs. They have MGP aged in Kelvin Char 4 barrels. They have normal MGP. They have older MGP. They have rumored Willett barrels. They have these really crazy cask strength Ryes that are Hazmat. They have a bunch of different fun and crazy stuff. They've been doing this for quite a few years, and I'm really excited today to get to try quite a few of their offerings, and we'll talk about them and we'll see what we really enjoy. So to go over what we have today in this flight. So we're going to begin with 4 different MGP Kelvin Char 4s, and there's a reason why. Their most popular offering that people have really and truly loved has been their 31 to 34 XX, and the reason why I say that is because everything that they do is based off of a barrel number. So Rare Character, for example, they do like the KOA or the WTN. River Roots, they'll start with a certain number. Nashville Barrel Company is the same way. They do numbers. And so they're 31 to 34 XX, which means any number between 3100 and 3499, those are going to be Kelvin MGP Char 4, which essentially is just a really toasty barrel. And those are going to be 8 years. Some older ones are going to be 7 years old. So we actually have quite a few 7-year-olds that were really the OGs that they were picked, and really, really special barrels. So we're going to try those, and then we're going to try some other stuff. So we have, specifically, we have something called Boss Birthday, which is a 1565. So this is different. This is a 5-year, and it's 128 proof. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Then we have 3 of the Kelvin Char 4s. I misspoke. I thought we had 4. We actually only have 3. We have 3261. This is a 7-year, 123 proof, and this is called Ace Spirits. And I have all these little sample jars here. A good buddy of mine named Warren sent me the first 4 samples that we're going to do, and then I actually have bottles of the other 3, so that's pretty cool. So then we have New World Order. This is 3272, 7-year. This is 125 proof. And then Hinds and Davenport, and this is 3274, and this is a 7-year, 130 proof. So pretty high in the proof there. And then the last 3, we have something, a Nakatomi 12 here. So this is an 8-year, 55, 34, 130 proof. This is Kentucky bourbon. We really don't even know what this is. People think it could be the Kelvin Char 4 barrels, but honestly, we're going to try it and we're going to see if we think so. Then we have a really special barrel. This is 592 called the Patriot. It's 127 proof and 11 years old. And this is actually rumored to be Willett juice. So Willett Purple Top juice. This was $250 MSRP. Everything else that I've named so far has been about $120 to $150. So definitely on the more expensive side for this bottle, but supposedly really, really good. And then we have something really crazy, which is 140 proof rye. This is a blend of 2 Illinois barrels and 1 Indiana barrel, so likely MGP, but the Illinois, who knows what it is. And apparently one of those barrels was 172 proof. So they basically had like one barrel that was really, really short, may have only yielded like 10 bottles, 172 proof, a second barrel that was like 148 proof, and then they blended those 2 with a bunch of MGP, got it down to right above Hazmat, but supposedly also really amazing stuff. Also about $200 for that one. So I actually bought these all on their website, and they have a website. I constantly encourage people to just check out the website because even if you're not super plugged in on things, sometimes they just have really great stuff available. So anyways, that's a lot of blabbing. Let's get into our first sample here, which is the Boss Birthday 5-year. So we are increasing in age and in proof over time. I also do have this 4th bottle called Gremlin Juice 3. That being said, though, I actually already had 3 of the 32 and 33Xs. This is another 33, so I decided to leave that one out. We'll try it in a future video, but we already cracked 3 bottles just for this video. So anyways, let's get into glass number 1. Okay, this is interesting. So, to my understanding here, looking at the sample, I think this is just a normal bourbon 5 years, 128 proof, just shy of 128 proof, 127 and change. Wow, very hot on the nose. Really rich though. Like there's a lot of really deep cherry on this. This actually smells way older than 5 years. Wow, this is surprising. I mean, this is smelling like a 10, 11-year bourbon. Tons of cherry on it, but really deep, complex cherry note here. Some dark berries, a really strong oakiness on this. Some caramel, some vanilla in there, but it's really primarily like a fruity and oaky bomb here. Impressive complexity on it. Let's take a sip. Wow, that's impressive. That doesn't drink anywhere near 5 years old. I will say, finish is relatively short. It's like a short to medium finish. The actual flavor on it, the front, middle, late palate here, very surprisingly good for 5 years. That definitely tastes much older. There's really impressive complexity on this one. Now, we will just go through these one by one. And so, like I said, so we have the 5 year, we have the 3 Kelvin Char 4 MGPs. Then we have a really cool Kentucky bourbon that's like 8 years old, the Nakatomi 12. Then we have the Willett, then we have the Ryes. We're just going to go through them and just rate them. This isn't really meant to be a comparison about which one is the best. It's much more, just kind of a case study of all these different Nashville Barrel Companies, kind of just learning all of them together. So we don't really have to say, oh, I need to go through, and I mean, maybe we'll want to compare like these 3, the next 3, but we'll see. But I will say, I mean, this is very, very good here. Let's take a second sip. It's also very viscous on the mouthfeel. What's holding it back is a relatively short finish. I will say it has the cherry in the front palate. Gets just pretty plain and oaky towards the mid and late palate here. It's very good though. I mean, for those statistics, it's very good. Definitely a bottle that's worthy of 100, 150 bucks here. I like this a lot. I'll leave a little bit in case you want to come back to it, but that today I would rate that a 7.7. Very solid start on that one. But let's go on to Ace Spirits. So this is a 7-year, 123 proof barrel, 3261 here. This is MGP out of Indiana, a bourbon, and this was aged in Kelvin Char 4 barrels, a special, really high quality, very toasty barrel. Char 4 is the highest char that barrels do, so pretty cool here. Actually, there may be a Char 5. I don't know about that, but Char 4 is very, very popular with people. Very toasty on the nose here, but there's also a good amount of fruit. I will say, of the 32s, 33s that I've had, there has been quite the range on them, so I will not expect that these 3 will be that similar. Yeah, this one, though, definitely on the toastier side of things, but also the dark fruit side of things. And there's vanilla on this, but there's a really dark plum and cherry on this one, like a black cherry on this one. That's really nice. Let's take a sip. Interesting. It's actually much lighter than the first pour, but it's nice. It's relaxing. It's much more caramel and vanilla on the palate on that one. You get a really rich oak that's really nice, actually. Wow, that's nice. Very different from the first pour here. The 32s and 33s. Now, to my understanding, 31 and 34 are also the same thing. They're also that MGP Kelvin Char 4, usually around 8 years right now. These are older picks, picked very early, some of the best of the lot. That's why they're younger, 7 years old. And it's a weird situation where I think it happens with River Roots, it happens with River Character, where the younger barrels are sometimes actually much better than the older barrels because they were picked earlier and the rest is just kind of what they've had and left to age. And sometimes older barrels end up getting better. Who knows? But this is very, very nice. Let's take a second sip. Oh, yeah. So, on the nose, it's much more red fruit forward. On the palate, it's much more citrusy. There's a good amount of oak, vanilla, citrus, some lemon on that one. But the oak is really rich, really pleasant. I mean, really sweet as well, like a nice vanilla oak to it. Honestly reminiscent of kind of like a George T. Stagg, like Buffalo Trace kind of oakiness on this, which is interesting. I actually don't typically get that kind of oak off of MGP. But MGP just has such a range. I guess you could get all kinds of oak off of MGP. MGP, obviously out of Indiana, really the biggest place that sells barrels, and they really sell some of the best barrels out there. Man, that is really, it actually might take a little bit more here. Actually, you know, I will leave this. I guess I'll do these three as more of a flight comparison. So I'll come back to this one. We'll see which one we like out of the three that are all supposedly around the same thing. So moving on, glass number 3 here, we have something called New World Order. This is 3272, a 7-year, and it is 125.4 proof here. Interesting. The nose is pretty similar. A little bit less hot on the New World Order here, glass number 3. A little bit less fruit, a little bit more oak and vanilla. Definitely more vanilla. Wow, that's nice. Let's take a sip. See, that's interesting. So, the nose on glass number 2 had a lot of those toasty elements to it. The palate didn't really get super toasty. This one had the toasty elements on the nose and the palate. Like, the very toasty on the palate here. Getting a good amount of toasted wood, kind of like that toasted marshmallow note on it, that I get on a lot of heavy chars and double oaks and stuff like that. That's really good. But it's surprisingly different from glass number 2 here. Wow. Yeah, I mean, these bottles for like $150, just really, really good here. I think at some point we will do a flight where we just do MGP 8-year Kelvin Char 4s. Rare Character actually does have a similar run. They call it KEL. So that, again, Kelvin Char 4 here. We'll try those. Maybe we'll like compare the different NDPs together. Maybe that'll be a lot of fun. This is nice. Let's take another sip. Wow. It definitely actually, it drinks a good bit hotter than glass number 2. It doesn't have that like really refined, nice oakiness to it. I think I like glass number 2 more, but it's very close. I mean, it's very, very close on that one. Let's go on to glass number 4, and then we'll kind of go back a little bit, pick our favorites, and then we'll move on. So this is the Hinds Davenport 3274, 7-year, 130 proof. Give it the nice fancy glass here, because I only have 6 of these glasses, although I did actually just buy some more. So we will actually be able to do some flights of like 8 glasses, 10 glasses, up to 12 glasses. So we'll see how often I do that, but I've definitely been leaning towards doing more half ounces for these kinds of flights. I think it allows me to try more and not drink too much, but you definitely get a good idea of things. But for now, I'll replace it with these kind of cool looking glass, but I know it's not totally optimal to whiskey drinking. Interesting. Yeah, this one on the nose, definitely very similar to the other two. More cherry, more dark fruit, definitely very toasty. The nose on all these three is actually pretty similar. So let's see if the palate is that similar. Oh, wow. Wow. That one to me, a lot of jamminess on it. Almost like a raisin on that. Wow, that's super rich. That's super interesting. I will just say the color on it, it's a good bit darker. Like, oh, surprisingly darker than the first 3 glasses, all of them, really. Wow. And I will say, I mean, it's even darker than, like, this is supposedly 11-year Willett right here. Still darker than that 11-year Willett, so that's interesting. Hopefully you guys can kind of see that a little bit here. It's almost like a reddish hue to it. Similar to, actually, the Hazmat Rye, but at much younger. That's really interesting here. Now, Hinds and Davenport are actually the 2 co-founders of Nashville Barrel Company. So it's well known that barrels with their name on it typically are some of the best barrels. And yeah, I see that. Definitely better than glass number 3. Glass number 2, though, did have that really nice oakiness to it. So let's take another sip here. We'll go back a little bit. We'll do some ratings and rankings. We'll move on to glass number 5. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's really rich. Really raisiny, really jammy. It gets a little bit tannic on the oak, actually pretty reminiscent of like Kings County, where Kings County, I mean, has the oak on Kings County is funky. It's very tannic. They use small barrels. You could tell they use small barrels. This one to me kind of gets a little bit towards that essence of it, but not in a bad way. Like, it's actually very fruity, very jammy, very raisin forward, not really giving me a lot of the negative qualities that I would get out of that stuff. So that's great. I think the glass number 3 is going to be my least favorite of these 3, but man, these are all good. But let's try glass number 3. Let's give it a rating. Go back to glass 2 and glass 4. Yeah, on the nose on this one, it's just getting a lot more plain than the others. Let's take a sip. Oh, that's nice. That's still very nice. It's, It's around as good as this first glass here. I mean, this first glass really started us off well. Actually, I'm going to take a sip of this first glass here just to remind myself. Okay, I'm going to rate glass number 3 a 7.6. I think it's still around worth it for the price. That being said, it's definitely on the lower end of the 32s and 33s I've had. Which is to say, I mean, there has to be some on the lower end, right? I mean, there has to be a higher end and a lower end. These other two are just incredible in comparison. But still, if you paid 100, 120 bucks for that, totally worth it. Totally worth it. Some of these end up going for around 150, but I think that's the higher end of it. At 150, I wouldn't be too mad with that. But I think just when I compare them against two that are just so much better, let's go back to glass number 2. Man, that really rich oak on it. Wow. I mean, that's the Ace Spirits. The least favorite one that I have is the New World Order. But man, that Ace Spirits is awesome. And actually, of the 4 samples that I have a second ounce of the Ace Spirits. So that's cool. Very happy with the Ace Spirits one. Wow, very impressive here. I'm going to rate that an 8.0. I mean, that's just, I actually might have to rate that even a little bit higher. That oak richness to it is just so good. Now, I will say there isn't that much else going on in the palate. It definitely does have a relatively short finish on it. Maybe I'll take a little bit here and give it a rating just to make sure we like 8. I'm going up to an 8.1. It's not good. It's not good. Let's go on to the Hinds and Davenport here. Yeah, this one is just surprisingly different. I mean, we have a really nice, rich oakiness to the point where that element, I mean, I could get that on a 15, 17-year bourbon, and I would understand it. I mean, it's super rich and oaky. On the other two, they do taste younger. I think glass number 3 definitely tastes the youngest. But man, glass number 4 here, really nice too, but it's different. It's much more fruity, jammy, it's that kind of thing. It's not the oak that's really shining in it. Let's take a sip. Whew. It's hot. It's hot. I like it more than glass number 2. I'm going to rate it an 8.2, but I could go either way. I mean, there's just more things going on glass number 4. I think glass number 2, it's that oak that's really unique and really, really shining. It's doing one thing incredibly well, but glass number 4 is doing multiple things also pretty well. So, yeah, I think I would say the Hinds and Davenport is the best. Then I would say it's the Ace Spirits. Then I would say it's the New World Order. But that's the first 4. Let's move on to glass number 5. So glass number 5 here, this is the Nakatomi 12. So Nakatomi 12 is a bourbon group where they do quite a few Nashville Barrel Company picks. I'm actually not sure if they do much else, but they do like at least 1 pick a month. Some of the best picks from Nashville Barrel Company. This, like I said, is barrel 5534. It's 130.94 proof. And I actually bought this because Warren, who actually sent me these 4 samples here, had recommended both of these two. And he said that this Nakatomi 12 from the 55 run, very reminiscent of like KOA, which is, you know, a Barton-sourced rare character. And so, curious to see if that's the case here. We don't know the source of 55. A lot of these distilleries actually do sign NDPs, and so while it's pretty easy to figure out that something is MGP because it'll say distilled in Indiana and there are only so many choices in Indiana, it gets a lot more complicated because this does say distilled in Kentucky, so it really could be anything. It could be Barton, it could be Willett, it could be Heaven Hill. We don't know. They're not going to tell us, so we just have to sit back and say, is this good whiskey or is this not good whiskey? Let's try it. On the nose here, it's very rich. I am getting a lot of cherry, a lot of spice on this one, some nutmeg, some cinnamon. Interesting. Wow, good amount of vanilla. Good amount of actually maple as well, some caramel on this. Interesting. It's definitely smelling hot. I'm definitely smelling that 130, 131 proof here. Not smelling like a super relaxing whiskey, but let's take a sip. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, wow. Wow, as it gets really into it, I get that oak funk that I would typically associate with Barton. And this is a kind of oak that exists on 1792 12 year. It's existed on a lot of the Barton sources that I have. I mean, I don't know if this is Barton sourced. People think that this is a Kelvin barrel, so that may or may not mean that it's Barton. I'm not really sure. But I kind of see it. I don't know if this is Barton. Obviously, this might not be Barton. But it actually does have a oak that's reminiscent of that Barton. It's like funky, oaky nuttiness to it. That's nice. Let's take another sip. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's very different from the MGPs. And this is a lot of what I was saying. I mean, Nashville Barrel Company, they have incredible range in their whiskeys. And the fact that a lot of these are just for sale on their website, and a lot of groups that do picks, if they don't sell out in their group, sometimes they just make the links public. And if you just check in at the right time, I mean, this Nakatomi 12, I don't think I should have been able to as easily. Like, this Nakatomi 12, I'm not in the Nakatomi 12 group, but it just went public one day and they had like 3 or 4 left. I think they were the reserve bottles. And so I just ordered one and it showed up to my door. There were no problems with it. So that's cool. And I do think that stuff like that does happen sometimes with Nashville Barrel Company. So that's why it's just so important to just honestly check the website every week, maybe every couple days. Just see what you can find. If you find a 32 or 33X, I mean, these are really, really, really good. But honestly, this 55, definitely, I see what Warren was talking about with this being pretty like KOA-like here with the Barton, and it's good. It's really good. It's really a flavor profile that I enjoy. I will say it's a little bit toastier than what I would get out of KOA. I'm definitely getting like a little bit of toasted marshmallow on this, a little bit of that toasted wood on this that I would not typically get on what I would usually be like a 9-year sourced Barton. It's good though. Okay, I'll take one more sip and I'll give it a rating. Man, that's great whiskey. And the fact that that whiskey was like $130, $150, man, I'm very happy with my purchase. I would rate that an 8.4. I think it's definitely my favorite of this flight so far. Actually, you know, I'll do an 8.3. I'll say it's definitely still my favorite, but I think there were these two, Glass 2 and 4 were really, really special. It doesn't deserve to be that much better, but I think 8.3 is still a great rating. I'm very, very happy with that purchase at $150. Let's go on to glass number 6. So this is the Patriot. This is barrel number 592. And this is 127.66 proof here. And this is rumored to be Willett. The 5XX and the 6XX, or the 500s and the 600s, these are typically considered to be Willett. And on the nose, it is great. Okay, there's a lot of caramel on this. A lot of really, really rich oak on this as well. I think these glasses keep hitting each other, so I'll spread out these glasses a little bit. Wow. This is really nice. There's definitely the caramel on it, there's oak on it, definitely a nice oak richness on it, there's some vanilla on it, but it's also pretty herbal. Definitely getting those kind of Willett stereotypical notes here of a lot of lavender candy on it, which is nice. A little bit of blackberry on this one that I do enjoy. Wow, there's a lot going on in this. Let's try it. Ah, it's interesting. It's so different from everything we've had. I mean, even within the 32s and 33s, we had such difference. But man, I mean, there's just so much going on this flight here. We will end it off with the Hazmat Rye. That's going to be super different from everything else we've had too. So, just such a range with Nashville Barrel Company. It's a really impressive range to what they have. They're really buying good barrels when they see the good barrels. And I will say, they don't do advertising particularly well. I do think that if they advertised their stuff a lot more, a lot of this stuff would have a really strong secondary market. I mean, this bottle sold out relatively quickly, but there really aren't going to be people that are going to, search for that bottle. They're going to foam over that bottle, but this is a bottle that, if this was under a different label, could go for $350, $400, even $500. I mean, this is perfectly a Willett Purple Top level bottle, so I don't know why Willett sold the barrel, if this is actually Willett, but this is awesome, and I got it for $250 on their website, so I'm very happy with what I paid for it. And that's great. That's really good. Probably original mash. I'm not really getting like a really sweet caramel corn that I would typically get out of high corn mash. I'm not really getting a lot of spiciness on it that I would typically get out of the high rye. We know that it's a bourbon. We know that it's Kentucky. So if it is Willett, it's probably original mash. Really, really good though. Wow, I'm impressed. Yeah, Nashville Barrel Company. A lot of gems in Nashville Barrel Company. I mean, just every bottle that I've had so far on this flight, I'm definitely happy to have paid the MSRP on it. Obviously, I paid MSRP on 4 of these bottles. I don't own these first 4, but I do own these back 3, and they are really good. Let's take another sip. Oh my god. That oak is so rich. It's so good. You get that lavender candy on it. That's really nice. I mean, the good Willett lavender candy on it. Like the really sweet caramel, all these other notes on it, where I think sometimes Willett gets very herbal. Sometimes that's its problem, but really good Willett Purple Tops, they get beyond that herbalness and they get to that sweet and that really, really rich note on it. 11-year Willett Purple Top for $250. I am very happy with my purchase. That is awesome. I mean, I'm at least an 8.6 here. I could even rate this a little bit higher. I'm so happy with this bottle. Oh man, I'm so excited. It's like, I wish I had 3 of them. They're that good. But then again, I mean, I don't drink too much of any bottle that I have. So it's okay. One bottle's plenty. Yeah, and I'm going to take a little bit here, give it a rating. But man, this is awesome. This is definitely my favorite of the flight. It's just so robust, so rich, so much complexity, so much depth. Let's take a sip. Awesome. 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 I'm going to rate that an 8.7. That's very, very good here. Let's go on to the final glass. This is Blaum Bros. This is a Nashville Barrel Company, Blaum Bros. Actually, I don't know that much about Blaum Bros, but this is 70.03% alcohol, 140.6 proof. There are 3 barrels in it. There's 2 from Illinois, 1 from Indiana. This retailed for, I believe it was $200. And I did have to pay shipping on it. If you get an order that's above $250, you actually get free shipping. And so with this Willett, it was $249.99, but I added the $5 shipping protection. And so I paid $255 and I didn't have to pay the shipping, which was like $25. But on this rye, I did have to pay I think it was $23 for shipping. So I paid like $230 for it. Let's try it. Man, it doesn't smell like a rye. There's a ton of cherry on that. There's a lot of raisin on that. Really reminiscent of like Kings County. I mean, really, really nice here. And you dig, and there's just isn't that much rye forward notes on there. There isn't that much of it going on. This smells like a bourbon. Let's take a sip. What the heck? Oh my God. So there's a lot of richness on it. But it's actually those raisiny, jammy notes that I got off of number 4 ramped up and drier. So that's wow. That is interesting. That is a really nice pour of whiskey here. Huh. For $200, totally worth it. Would I pay that much more for this though? I don't know. I don't know. It's so funky. It's so interesting. I'm very happy we have that in the collection. I mean, you know, I did crack the 3 bottles that I used here before. Took a little bit off of them, and so they did get the opportunity to open up here for about 3-4 weeks. I didn't want to do the Hazmat off of the neck pour or anything. And I will say, from the neck pour, this has definitely gotten much better. The oak definitely, it makes a lot more sense. You know, it's not really, it's super unrefined, all over the place oak like I honestly got on the neck pour. This, to me, is definitely much better, much more refined, much more relaxed. But you still get so much of that cherry, so much of that raisin. That's a rye? I mean, obviously, I mean, the MGP rye in there, we could predict what that would taste like, but the Illinois rye, that's 172 proof. I mean, only Nashville Barrel Company and God know what that tastes like. And I can tell you it tastes pretty weird. Let's take another sip here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's cherry. It's raisin, but there's just some blueberry in there, some blackberry in there, deeper berry notes on there for sure. It is definitely drying on the mid-late palate. The finish is very drying on this one. That would definitely be a negative to some people, but there's definitely also a little bit of vanilla that kind of opens up in here as well. That's so interesting. That doesn't at all taste like a rye. I mean, I'm not getting any rye candy. I'm not getting any herbal notes. Frankly, you could tell me that's a bourbon, and I'm totally with you. So I'm shocked that that's a rye. Wow. I mean, it says rye whiskey on it. So, I mean, we don't know the mash bill on it, so maybe it's just like a barely legal rye. But even then, I don't believe that there's 51% rye in here. Super bourbony. Let's take another sip here. Let's give it a rating. Wow. Super unique. I don't like it more than the Willett Purple Top, but it's still really good. I'm going to rate that an 8.6. I think it's super unique, super interesting. I think it's super drying, and that drying is actually really interesting. very dry oak on it, but it's not tannic at all. It's just really rich cherry, plum, blackberry, blueberry, as well as that raisin and jam and stuff like that. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, that's Nashville Barrel Company for you. So we tried 7 here today. Glass number 1 here was a 5-year. It was 128 proof, give or take. Very good. Very surprising it was only 5 years old. And then we did a set of the 32 and 33 XXs. These are delicious pours of whiskey, surprisingly different for things that are in the same run, but really rich, definitely tasting older than 8 years old here, definitely getting a lot of the toasty notes on it, especially on the nose. Then the back through, we had the Nakatomi 12 55 XX here. That one was definitely more Bartony, definitely very oaky, definitely very cherry forward. Love that bottle. The Willett Purple Top, I think, was very, very good. Definitely my favorite of this flight. And it was also the most expensive of this flight. So, hey, cool that it's my favorite. And then we had the 140 proof rye. That one was raisiny and cherry and dark fruits and all that fun stuff. Very funky bottle. But that's Nashville Barrel Company for you. So they're doing some pretty cool stuff here. I'm growingly a fan of them. I had only 1 bottle of them for a while, but now I own 4. And I imagine that you guys will be seeing more and more Nashville Barrel Companies pop up here. This is kind of my NDP side of things. This is my like classic Kentucky side of things, if you guys hadn't noticed that already. But I'm expecting to buy more and more Nashville Barrel Companies soon. I'm really enjoying the stuff that they're doing. But anyways, let me know down below in the comments if you guys have had Nashville Barrel Company bottles, what you guys think of them. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed the review. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.